Hey guys, it is MissSimReno. If you are returning to the channel, welcome back. And if you are brand new, I am very excited that you decided to join me here today for another speed build and another base game home. I had one on the channel last week. It was kind of a little bit more of a colorful base game home because I was trying to use more of the actual default colors that we have. I tend to gravitate towards a lot of earthy tones and neutrals, but I wanted to add a pop of color. And then in this one, I just wanted it to be a little bit more of a traditional home. Now, bear with me, because when y'all get inside, it is quite fancy schmancy, but it seemed to be the only style that I could gravitate towards with the outside structure of this home, because I kind of added, at least in my opinion, some Victorian elements, specifically those little, what are those called? They're like, you could put the little corner benches there, those little like window things. Do you know what I'm talking about? I don't know the formal name here, all right? I'm not an architect, I don't know things. But I tried to add some Victorian accents basically, and I wanted it to be a bigger home, and I knew that the interior was going to be a lot more traditional. At least that's kind of how I refer to it. Because I've said this a million times with base game, we have modern interior, we have some things that are a little bit more, I don't even want to say rustic, but just kind of cozy. And I think they fit a lot with kind of the Spanish or Mediterranean style houses that we have in Oasis Springs. And then we have super traditional, like Victorian, very fancy furnishings. So there's really no in between is what I've noticed. And for the interior of this home, I basically wanted it to look very fancy. And I wasn't thinking that the family that lives here was necessarily exceptionally wealthy. I think maybe they got this old home and they actually had a lot of the original furnishings that came with the house, which in my opinion is kind of unique. I don't know a lot of homes, at least in my area, that come with the original furnishings if they're historic homes. But I thought it was kind of a nice idea that they have all the original furniture there, and for the most part, at least in like the living space, maybe the dining room and stuff like that, is they just had the furniture either like refinished, refabricated, whatever the case is, reupholstered. I think that's the word I was looking for. And I don't know, I just really liked it. But we are, of course, wrapping up the exterior here. And the shape of this house was honestly a bit of a struggle. I didn't really know what I wanted it to look like. I wanted to have those Victorian kind of accents with the windows, but I had literally just built the other base game house, the colorful one that I posted last week, and I was starting to run out of steam. So I actually came back to this build, I think a couple of days later. Like, I got the exterior done because I felt as though that was the biggest lift, to be honest. I didn't want it to resemble the colorful base game home that I did too much, and I wanted it to still be unique. I wanted it to be its own structure, and I had been building so much during my time off, which is totally ironic, right? Because I took the 2 weeks off for Christmas and New Year's, but I was playing and building the whole time. I just wasn't editing or doing anything like that, and it was actually very freeing. But yeah, I was building constantly, and by the time I got to this house, I was kind of running out of steam and running out of unique ideas to make it its own structure. So I got the exterior done, and then I kind of held off for the interior because I was just exhausted. But I don't know, I kind of let loose with the landscaping a bit. I have been getting a fair amount of comments recently about how I kind of over landscape, and I definitely do that sometimes, but I really love landscaping and I love things to look really full, but I did kind of pull back a bit here, see if I liked it, see if it would appease a few of you guys, if it's more your style. So I did kind of pull back, and I did finish the backyard before I even went inside too, which I thought was kind of nice. Typically, I will leave the backyard until the end. That's kind of been my approach recently, is I'll do the exterior for the most part. I'll kind of get the shape. I'll do a fair amount of the landscaping. Then I'll go inside, do the floor plan, and literally furnish the first and second story, if there is a second story, and then I'll do the backyard, because I never really know what the back of a build is going to look like when I start it, but for this one, I did have a pretty good idea. In fact, I kind of manicured a little bit of landscaping back here, and then I fleshed out a good part of the backyard that actually was kind of like the sidewalk, or I guess the pavement or pathway, whatever, that I had in the front of the home too, which is, I think, a little bit different for me. Typically, I'll just leave it all grass because I feel it looks so awkward sometimes with laying out an actual tile or something, a flooring on top of grass, and then there's just this cutoff. But I kind of liked how it turned out this time. It was a little out of my comfort zone, so I'm glad I did it. But since it is base game, I didn't have too many activities to put in the backyard. I was thinking of a pool, but it was honestly a little bit, I think, too small for this house. It just didn't seem big enough for me at all. So I just put a monkey bar set because I was imagining that this family had at least one child. So there's a set of monkey bars back here, some more landscaping, and then I think I put the outside trash cans around the corner because it's kind of like a little awkward long space on the side of that deck and the rest of the house. And I think I fill it with landscaping as well, which I really enjoyed. I never really struggle with landscaping for base game. I really enjoy that we have the debug menu to be able to pull out a lot of these plants. As you can see, I think most of these plants that I used, aside from maybe a shrub or two, was all debug, which was amazing. And I know I've been getting a lot of questions about the debug menu, so I have no clue if there is one for console. I'll be honest, because I play on PC, so I'm totally ignorant to console sometimes. I do know that like custom content and mods can't be used on console, which is a bummer, but I don't know about the debug menu. But for PC, you open up basically the little cheat bar and you type in the BB show hidden objects, and then it's the BB show live edit objects, and that's how you end up with the debug menu. And of course I filtered to base game, so that's how I found all of the plants. But now we are on to the interior, and I'm sorting out the floor plan here, which to be honest was a bit had. I I didn't really know what I wanted it to look like. I knew I wanted some of the rooms to be a little bit bigger than I would normally make them, but I didn't know what the flow was really going to look like. And I think it was actually difficult because in my head, I was thinking of those corner window seats. We got some with cats and dogs, and I think, did we get one with like Get Together or something like that? I feel like we did. And I was picturing those in these little like window areas here, these little curved window areas, and I was so excited about them. I could not wait. And then I realized, duh, they're not base game. I can't use them. And therefore, to me, they just looked totally awkward. So I hope they don't look too awkward to you guys. But the first room that I did work on was the living room, and I actually used carpet. Mind freaking blown. I don't use carpet ever. And I'm just realizing this as I'm watching this footage back. I was like, oh my God, I don't use carpet. I literally don't, and I don't know why. I really don't know why I don't use it. I think maybe it's because I either gravitate towards the tan kind of like neutral beige color or the white carpet. And in my head, white carpet, that's going to get dirty real quick, especially with kids. Like there would be no way to preserve that in my head. And the beige is kind of like dingy unless you add like tons of pops of color, kind of like this living room. So I don't use it a lot in builds, but I'm glad that I actually used some carpet to change it up a little bit. And I really liked using these base game sofas. There are actually a lot of fun swatches of that sofa, but it is just very regal looking to me, so I don't use it very often, but I do think it's really pretty, and I tried to use that same or very similar blue swatch in a lot of the furniture throughout the build itself, especially on the first floor. I felt like the first floor had to be a bit more cohesive since I was kind of going along the lines of the owners of this home kind of like reupholstered or refinished. It just seemed to kind of work. But I did use a lot of console tables here because I did not have much to clutter up all of these empty wall spaces like at all, which was really disappointing. But I was actually able to get a grand piano in this build too, which was a little bit odd for me. I felt as though it of course fit the build and kind of the style I was going for, but I despise using the grand piano unless it's a giant mansion because it's so freaking big. And I was really missing the city living keyboard that we got. But there are a lot of kind of like hallway spaces too, which I always have difficulty decorating, but I found a way, I think, to kind of make it work here. I just found a bunch of objects that I thought worked. I mean, that's how everyone builds, right? Like, I put a bunch of stuff together that I thought would look nice. Like, no kidding. Of course, that's what I'm doing. But I don't know. I wanted it to still look very lived in, but I wanted it to have a lot of character and still kind of pay homage to the original furnishings and the original style of the home. So I use a lot of these same rugs throughout the entire build, and this little entryway is actually quite scarce, I think. It's really not that decorated, but I really do like how it looks because it doesn't look overly cluttered, which there's a fine line, and sometimes I have difficulty defining my own line with clutter. I mean, I love clutter, but in a build like this, I wanted to keep it reasonably clean, but still look decorated because I don't like it when rooms look barren too. You know, like I don't want it to look like they missed a spot decorating or something like that. So leaving blank walls drives me crazy, but I found a way to kind of make it work with sconces. I do that a lot. If you guys haven't noticed, is I'll use sconces to kind of add a bit of decoration to maybe a smaller space or a wall or something where I didn't feel as though I could place a piece of artwork. And it seems to work for me, so hopefully you guys kind of enjoy that too. I may have overused them in this build just because I really was lacking a lot of decorations because it was only base game, but I thought it really worked, and hopefully this is another home that, for those of you who don't have all of the packs and just have base game, that this is going to be kind of like a nice playable lot for you if you have a little bit of a fancier family in mind. But this is the dining room, which I really did like. I love these chairs from base game, and I don't only use them in base game only houses. I don't use them for only like fancy houses either. I use those quite often. At least it feels that way. And then I end up moving on to the kitchen, where I use these counters that I don't use very often from base game, only because they are very fancy. They kind of have like the marble countertop, but I really love the design. I was going to say the etching, but the design in the wood itself I think is really pretty. And this kitchen was such a good size. I was able to make this huge island, which I don't get to make islands very often. At least it doesn't feel that way, like true islands. I don't mean just maybe like a counter or two. I mean a big island like this. So I was really happy to be able to do that here, because I felt as though, actually I always feel as though the kitchen is kind of the heart of a home, because that's where people gather to just eat and enjoy each other's company, and I just really like the idea. I also used this bookcase here because I saw recently, I think it was, oh man, who was it? I think it was a Russian Sims YouTuber, and I cannot remember their name for the life of me. I'm gonna have to look it up and see if I can find it again, but it was randomly recommended to me, and I just kind of popped in there to see what it was all about, because I like to check out my recommended every now and then. And I didn't watch the full build just because I was in the middle of like running out the door, and I was buying time while my husband was getting ready. And anyway, I was watching it and they actually placed a bookcase like in a counter like that. And I thought it looked so good. I was just sitting there saying to myself, why have I never thought of that? That's so creative. Granted, you can't use it, I don't believe. I playtest all my builds, and I'm not even sure if I play tested that bookcase, because I was under the assumption it just wouldn't work, and there are plenty of other bookcases in this build, so it didn't really matter. But I really liked how it looked, because it adds just a little bit more to a kitchen, and it kind of looks like a collection of cookbooks that are in kind of built-in shelves, which I thought was really neat. So hopefully you guys enjoy that as well, and if you do end up downloading this build, definitely let me know if that bookcase works. I doubt it, but you never know. And then down here is going to be a small office space. Again, there's so many rooms in this home that I was struggling with filling them, but I thought an office space would be kind of nice. That's kind of my go-to. It's the first go-to, is like, all right, well, let's build like an office or like a small library or a kid's playroom or something like that. So it was really nice to put a little office here. It's not heavily decorated, but I really loved using these bookcases and the matching desk. I gravitate towards that desk a lot, but not these bookcases, just because they're a little bit dull and I don't like a lot of the swatches, but this is the only one I pretty much like. And there is just an armchair in here, a couple of lamps and plants, and of course the desk itself with a desktop. I didn't want to use a laptop. I felt as though this family would have like an actual desktop PC or something. And there's also I think a full bathroom down here. Technically it would be a 3/4 bath. I think it's a toilet, sink, and shower, but I also may have kept the shower tub combo. Yeah. No, I think I actually kept the shower tub combo. Either way, there's a place for your Sims to go to the bathroom and, you know, up their hygiene, which is nice, because I was thinking this family had 2 parents, at least 1 child, and I think 2 toddlers. I was trying to kind of diversify the family dynamic a little bit. So I believe there's a fair amount of Sims in this house. So having another bathroom is always necessary. And here is where I sneak in the grand piano. It does look a bit cramped, but I think it actually really works here. There was nowhere else I could really place it, and it does fit. There's no routing issues, which made me really happy. And that door leads to the little back porch in the backyard. So it was a nice way to fill this spot, because I couldn't think of anything better. And then we move on to the upstairs, where there are 2 more bathrooms, as well as 3 bedrooms. So there's actually a lot of bathrooms here. I really try to drive that home when I have a bigger family, because there have been a few times now where I've been playing like different families I make off camera, and I play in some of the houses that I make because I'm way too lazy to make another house specifically just for my own gameplay. I'm not gonna lie to you. And therefore, I play in some of the houses that I make, and I realize that having at least 2 or 3 bathrooms in a house in The Sims, let's just talk about The Sims. It's necessary. Like, it is necessary if you have more than like 4 or 5 Sims, especially when you're trying to get everyone ready for school or work in the morning. For the love of all that is holy, I need more than 2 or 3 bathrooms because everyone's going to school and work at the same time. I get my Sims on routines, so everyone in the morning has to like go to the bathroom and shower, and then they can either take a sack lunch or eat before they go to school/work. But yeah, having more than 2 or 3 bathrooms is necessary. But we're on to the master bedroom, which I kind of made a little bit more engaging, if that's the word. I added a fireplace, which I thought was a really nice element, especially in an older home. I do kind of wish that I had tried harder to align it and center it with the bed and like the center of the room, but I still really liked it. There's also a chess table, a dresser, a mirror, and I believe another bookcase. And so that's kind of what I meant by it's a little bit more engaging. There are a few more activities in here for your Sims to take part in. So if the parents really wanted to escape all of the kids or something like that, they could actually, relax and play some chess, read a book, warm themselves up by the fire, relax on the bed. They can just do a little bit more. And I don't believe, now that I even think about it, there isn't even a TV in this build. Unless I put one on top of the fireplace, which I don't think I did. So if you do really want a TV, I would recommend getting rid of the piece of artwork that's above the fireplace in the living room and putting a TV there, because I don't think I even put one in here. And I've been doing that a lot. I haven't been putting TVs in some of my builds because all the Sims do is watch TV or play on their phone, and it drives me insane. So if I want to force them to all be at the table while they eat a meal or actually engage with one another, I have to remove distractions. And sometimes I'll even lock the family computer for the entire household, like literally everyone. So no one just randomly, autonomously goes to play on the computer, because it drives me up a freaking wall. It really does. And now we're working on the toddler's room, which I thought was really precious. I love working on toddler rooms and kid rooms and nurseries and everything, but I thought this one was exceptionally cute because I began to stray away from that classical kind of Victorian traditional feel for the room, because there's only so much you can do with a kid's room, to be honest, unless you wanted it to be void of like any cartoon characters or fun things, in my head, at least in The Sims. But they do have a little dollhouse here. There's a little shelf above each of the toddler beds. They also have their little like cube wardrobe thing. And I wasn't necessarily thinking of the personalities or anything like that for the toddlers. I mean, it could be 2 little girls, 2 little boys, a boy and a girl, doesn't matter at all. And then I work on this other full bathroom because with having 2 toddlers, you definitely want a tub because they're going to get smelly and you need to give them a bath. Though, now that I remember, I think you can actually bathe toddlers in the sinks now, which I haven't done. I have not done that. Oh my God, I haven't done that. I have to try that. I haven't even done that. So you actually really don't need a tub from what I know now, at least with the base game update, but it's still nice to have. And then there's a double sink and of course a toilet. And I think there's like a what am I trying to say? A hamper. I was thinking of a dresser, but I think there's like a hamper or another kind of faux storage rack or something in here. But it's a really nice bathroom. I really like it. It's a bit more spacious than my average bathroom, but I think that was kind of necessary with a bigger family. And then I move on to the kids' room. Again, not thinking if they had a son or a daughter that was a child sim, but thinking that this child was a little bit creative, and I really liked using the gray wood tone for a lot of the furniture in here. Again, there wasn't much of a color scheme though. If you notice in the toddler room, there really wasn't a color scheme. In the kids' room, there really isn't, because I wanted them to still be cutesy, even if, like this kids' room, I used some more traditional furniture objects. So I really liked it. But I used the gray wood tone, like I said, and I used that for the dresser and the shelf, as well as the bed and the side table. And then I just add a couple of toys and decorations on top of here. There is that little horse toy. So the only thing I was thinking is that this child sim liked horses. That was the only thing I was thinking. I thought of nothing else. I'm not even going to lie to you. They also have a little bookcase here in the corner, a creativity table, and their own desk, which I use this swatch here that has kind of like this raspberry color is how I think of it, as well as the blue, and it has dinosaurs on it. So maybe they also really love dinosaurs. Maybe they just love animals in general. Maybe they want to be a vet, or an archaeologist or something when they get older. But of course, with base game, there was only so much I could do to kind of represent that want or desire. But I do really like this kids' room. It doesn't really match. It's not perfect, but I think that is exactly how kids' rooms are, so I really enjoyed it. And I also made sure to put a nightlight in each of the rooms. And then this other room up here is just a gym for the parents. And that is actually almost it for the build. So I hope you guys did enjoy this. I hope that you enjoy these base game homes. They're honestly super fun, and I will catch you guys next time I post a video, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.
Put a pen on my desk, slip the noose around my neck as I wait for the muse to come. That I can't seem to hear any humming in my head, can't seem to figure it out, don't know what I said. When I hate hearing myself, I just walk out instead. I don't wanna wait here for it. I don't wanna wait here for it. And I don't wanna wait here for it to rise. What did you expect? I'm a coward at my best. Nothing was said, but it's done. I'm waiting